to the Racing Mindcast, the show that helps athletes slow down their minds so they can race past their limits. I'm Chris Haig.
And I'm Morgan Bickenbach Davies.
And on today's show, we are going to be talking about an ultra mindset and how to cultivate an ultra mindset, and then into getting naked with some, or naked with some naked bars, and then in part 3, talking about the Year of Fear, so a standard episode. So let's dive right into it. First off, we had, so I guess it was last weekend that we had an adventure.
Canadian Thanksgiving.
Canadian Thanksgiving, so tell us about it.
Well...
Not Canadian Thanksgiving, what we did.
Well, Cliff Notes version, we went 56 56 kilometers is the official distance from here to a town called Westport, which is kind of northeast of us. Mm-hmm. So we decided on a crazy idea you ran
mm-hmm.
and me bike from here to there. And I ended up doing slightly less than 50 because I started further out, mm-hmm.
Just
for safety reasons, but you started from the house.
So. Started from the house and did 32 miles.
You started before me, so how about you start from your part?
So, since the theme is the ultra mindset.
Yeah, this is first ultra, by the way.
This is, the first ultra. Hopefully of many, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, the ultra mindset begins, I think, in the practices and training sessions leading up to the ultra. And since this was an impromptu ultra,
self-supported,
sort of. Not really organized, on the seat of my pants for pure enjoyment, I didn't really think about it leading up.
You didn't train specifically for this, neither did I.
And I think that actually was our benefit, is that we didn't psych ourselves out beforehand.
We didn't have a countdown week by week or
mm-hmm.
anything.
And I think a lot of people in the lead up to their first big race, whether it's a marathon or a 10K or 5K mm-hmm. or a triathlon or Kona or whatever, psych themselves out thinking that they're not going to be able to complete it, or they're not going to do good enough, or they're not going to hit their times or their PRs. And I think going into an ultra, especially your first ultra, you should have no expectations of what to expect, except for finishing and having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're able to focus on those two things, then I think you're in a right mindset to do well.
Yeah, I think another important point is that we weren't doing a 12-week training
mm-hmm.
block for this. We didn't have this kind of week by week, okay, it's 8 weeks to go, it's 7 weeks to go. It's okay, now I'm tapering.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have those benchmarks. We didn't have those kind of things, cues, we didn't, or triggers. We didn't have those things to kind of remind us of this looming date. It was kind of well, do you want to do this next week?
Yeah.
Sure. Could it go horribly, horribly wrong? But why not? It was really just, let's see if we can do it.
Yeah, but there was no doubt in my mind that A, you would finish, and B, I would finish. There was no doubt. I knew starting that
and I think you have
run,
to go into that.
Yeah.
Be it a race or be it what we
mm-hmm.
did, just a random adventure. If you don't go into it thinking, okay, no, I'm going to finish. It might take me longer than I expect, but I'm going to finish. If you don't go into that, you're not going to finish.
And that's what you have to keep on reminding yourselves, especially in the ultra distances. You can always go slower. You just have to keep on moving moving forward.
Yeah, just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Doesn't matter how long it takes you. It's just as long as you keep that momentum
mm-hmm.
going. Eventually, you're going to get there.
And also, I found that when I started to think about in the couple days before the, I don't want to call it a race or event, before the run.
Yeah.
Before the run, when I would say, is it really possible for me to do that? And I'm like, yeah. If I need to take a walk break, I'll take a walk break. If I need to take a picture of the pretty leaves, I'll take a picture of the pretty leaves.
And
but just go out and enjoy
all the better.
it. It's just a trek. And just enjoy it. And that's all I had to think about is it's going to be fun, it's going to be epic, and it's going to be awesome.
Right.
And I went in there, and another thing to think about, especially for your first one, is just not setting any expectations.
No.
Not setting any, all right, I want to do it in this time, especially for your first one. You're only a first timer once. And after that, then you can start worrying about time. But for your first one, just focus on enjoyment. Focus on enjoying it. So that's the mindset I had going into the run. And as far as, because I'm a geek when it comes to metrics and power numbers and heart rate, while I didn't want to set a number, I knew that I could hold 240 watts for the whole entire run. I knew that.
No, a lot of people might not know what that means.
So I run with a Stride power meter, and I'm starting to coach people with Stride power meters, and it's different from cycling power meters because it's not strain gauge based.
Right.
So on a bike, when you have a cork or a P1 pedal or whatever, those are strain gauge power meters, so they're legit power meters. This one is a foot pod that goes on your shoe, and it gives you it uses a barometer to measure pressure, so you can monitor when you're going up hills, an accelerometer to measure ground contact time and vertical oscillation and cadence, and turns all of those things into a power number measured in watts. And that's where the similarities between that and the bike end.
Right.
So it gives you a calculated estimate of how many watts you're producing for a run. And so I've been training with it consistently since June. And I have found that I can hold, this is my, just like in cycling, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, all the way up to, zone 7.
Right.
I know that I can run long periods of time between 240 watts and 250 watts. So in the week leading up to the run, I tested out going slower at that wattage and kept on asking myself, does this feel like I could run for 4 to 5 hours?
Yeah, is this your autopilot?
Is this my autopilot?
Yeah.
And it was. So I knew as a safety blanket, if I just stuck to that 240 watts,
yeah, you'd get there.
I would get there.
Right.
So what I did is I ran out the door, hit 240 watts and said, this is cruising speed.
Yeah, exactly, cruise control.
And shut down all worrying about pace and effort, because I knew that if I held that 240 watts, I would be good.
Right.
And because I was on an autopilot or cruise control with those wattages, I was able to take in my surroundings and just enjoy my surroundings.
Yeah.
And that was, in my opinion, a huge benefit for the event, because I knew as long as I held this wattage, I was good.
Yeah.
And then I could just enjoy everything else.
Right. So logistically, you left at
I left at 5:15.
Yeah. Okay. So you left at 5:15. I didn't leave until 8. Just because we were trying to guesstimate how long it would take me to at least catch up to or do it in the same amount of distance in less time, because I'm on a bike. Blah blah blah. Ended up way not calculating that the right way.
I went faster than expected. I estimated 5 hours for the
which
event.
is a good a good
it's a ballpark estimate.
Very large window, so that you don't feel disappointed if you don't make it, which is another good safety thing, or not safety thing, but you know what I mean. It's a good ego cushion.
If I have to walk, it will most likely take me 5 hours.
Yeah. And so, me being on a bike, I didn't really have that concern. I was going based on previous performance versus distance. I knew that I'd probably be about 2.5 hours. Ended up being 2:35.
Without hills, though, and that's what I. So
it was different terrain than I'm used to, but with hills. Side note: my bike is a piece of poop.
Well, you got it from Canadian Tire for $100 Canadian. $70 American for our American viewers.
75. But I went up my first hill and the chain just started skipping away. So I managed a few of those hills, very terrified because there was cars pushing by me, and my foot kept slipping on the pedal because I was skipping on my chain. So I did it. I tolerated that a few times, and then I just realized, okay, if the hill's about 45 degrees, I'm just gonna walk it, because it was just unsafe, and it was probably raising my heart rate even more. And then the other obstacle was continuous rain.
Yeah, the weather. So when I started at 5:15, it was perfect conditions. Overcast, a little on the humid side, but overcast, cool. It was perfect. And on the dark side. But devil. So I started and did 3 hours without rain.
Yeah.
And those were fantastic. I saw the sunrise come up over the marshes, It was glorious. That was just
you texted
fantastic.
me and you just like I could read through your text that you were in a good mood.
And things, just the body was clicking along, and you just get into that zone.
Not too hot, not too cold.
Not too cold. So I came in. So it was actually your mom, and we'll have to talk about logistics as far as fueling and everything. Your mom met me at the marathon mark, coincidentally.
Right.
And that was at 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And she swapped out my water bottle and gave me an extra bar, and right after she took off, it started to rain. So I got a marathon in, for me, up closer to Westport.
No, because by the time we left, I started a little bit out of town just because of an overpass. When I picked her up, it was raining. Like when I picked her,
up where I was, it wasn't raining.
Good point.
So it wasn't raining. I got a marathon under the belt without any rain, which was good.
Yeah. Long story short, it was raining the whole time I was on the bike.
So that's a whole different mindset that you had to. No, we knew going into this it was most likely going to rain, and I think realizing that and accepting it and saying it's out of our control, I think that was
prepared
benefit.
for it.
And that, I think, is a huge plus that helped you keep going.
What?
Because it just knowing it and accepting it and saying, I'm going to do this regardless if it's rain or shine.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of people are fair weather trainers. So if it's a mere spitting of rain, they tend to go inside, but I think it's beneficial to put yourself in adverse conditions sometimes.
To be uncomfortable. Practicing being uncomfortable is very valuable for your training. Having said that, if I can avoid, training in the rain, I will. Like, I'm, just as guilty as anyone of using the treadmill when I don't want to put myself in a situation where it's wet. But going into that, it was either biking in the rain or not biking at all. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to deal with it. It might take me longer. It will probably be wet the whole time. I'll probably be covered in gravel, and I was. But I just knew that was my reality, and I didn't, if that's how it is, if wishing it was a different way isn't going to make it any better. So I just said, okay, well, I'm wet now. I might as well go through the puddles. It doesn't really matter.
And I think accepting that, and then also not trying to change it or wishing it was different, that is a huge
wishing it was
switch.
different just increases your suffering.
Yes.
Because then you're imagining something that you don't have, which just makes you want something more. And it's like rather than seeing the, all of the positives in a crummy situation, or less than ideal and more uncomfortable situation, not even crummy. Like, I was smiling the whole way. Just because it was fun.
So you were focusing on the fun rather than the crummy conditions.
And I was talking to awesome. I wasn't listening to any music because my mother would have killed me. Because there was no shoulder on the road.
Yeah, and Ontario drivers, especially on this road,
any drivers, any drivers on a holiday weekend don't want to see a biker on no shoulder roads.
And I was so thankful that I was running, because those roads, I couldn't imagine taking my road bike up there.
Oh, I wouldn't have taken my road bike. I was taking a mountain bike.
It was appropriate for a mountain bike.
Yeah,
a better mountain bike.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, if you want to donate to the show and donate a mountain bike, please contact us directly.
Anyway, but it just. I forgot my train of thought.
But I think you're getting at the core of the ultra mindset.
Yeah.
Is accepting that, you're most likely, you're putting yourself in an uncomfortable position. You're going to put yourself in an uncomfortable position.
So have fun while you're doing it.
But you focus on the fun, because that uncomfortable position will change when you focus less.
Yeah. But
focus less on the being uncomfortable. Yeah. And that it shouldn't take away from your enjoyment of the event.
Yeah, complaining is just gonna, do you a disservice. Rather than embracing where you are and just saying, okay, how can I make this enjoyable or entertaining for myself? I entertain myself by just talking to myself and sounding like an idiot. I started talking to myself about cars not killing me. I talked to some turkeys I saw in a field, and I told them to run away.
Yeah, it's Canadian.
Yeah, it was Thanksgiving weekend, so
with hunters all around.
Figured I'd give them some advice. So I was just kind of making fun of it, being silly, doing my best to just, make it less serious, considering I think it helped that I felt scared about the cars to try and diffuse that anxiety. I was just trying to be silly whenever I could, just because it was kind of scary to have a car come, yay close to you. So yeah, that was my mindset.
I think that that mindset is very important in long distance, and I think in any race situation is
and not taking it too seriously.
Yeah, not taking it too seriously and embracing being uncomfortable. Now we can make it. I think we can make it suck less with a few things. First, proper nutrition, and this is if we're ever to do this again, I did not plan this correctly. I had one water bottle, and that got me through 20 miles, and I was feeling fine at mile 20.
I'm so glad I gave my mom the water bottle. I'm so glad.
And I only had 3 bars, so I had about 250 calories an hour. Yeah. And ran out at mile 20, so was running on empty by the marathon mark. Unfortunately, your mom swapped out.
Well, yeah, I left what I had for you because I was gonna plan on meeting you, but because of how much we miscalculated how long it would take me to get to you. I'm so glad that just as a backup, I gave my mom a bar and water because I never ended up catching you. Yeah. Because you finished before me, and then you and mom came back to try and find me, and I was so deflated that I never got you because that was the one thing that was keeping me going. Because before I got on the bike, I was like, okay, this is gonna suck. I did not start my day positive because I said, it's raining, this is gonna suck, blah, blah, blah. And then I told myself, okay, at least catch up to Chris and then decide if you want to go further. And so that was driving me to get on the bike. And then that was driving me through the first couple miles until I really just, found my groove. And so I was always waiting to find you and then decide. So the more time I waited, the less, distance there was to go. And then I see you and mom driving towards me, and I was like, oh, damn, I never caught him. So I felt like I didn't do anything. And that was, unfortunately, that was a bittersweet end to my ride, was that, after all of that positivity going on in my head, as soon as I had an external metric of where I was or wasn't, I just deflated.
Yeah. And that could be race position, that could be looking at your times, that could be
looking
multiple
at your heart
things.
Rate.
Looking at your heart rate, which we will talk on in another episode. Yeah. So it's important to keep what your triggers are, and I think that's an appropriate use of the term here. What your triggers are for negative mindsets. Yeah, and know how to know if that kind of stuff bugs you, don't look at it. Yeah, exactly. Just know not to look at it. Don't be tempted. Just know that that's your weakness and don't indulge it. Yeah. So overall, focus on the positives. Focus on what's fun. Turn it into a fun event.
Yeah, gamify it.
Gamify it and make sure you fuel and hydrate properly. I think those are the key components for an ultra mindset.
Yeah.
Cliff notes. Anyway, that ends part 1. If you've done an ultra and you've got tips for ultra mindset, definitely let us know. Leave them in the comments below. And we will keep you posted on further ultra activities.
Adventures.
Yes, which will be further down the road. We've got a lot of stuff planned.
Yeah.
Anyway, that ends part 1. We will be back shortly with Buy It or Bonk, where we're going to be testing out Knock It bars. All right. And welcome back to part 1 of the Racing Mindcast. Part 2 of the Racing Mindcast. And today we have a British product.
Well, British and Canadian. We have them in Canada as well, just not these flavors. I have to thank my friend who lives in London for getting us these two new, and I think one is limited time, flavors of Naked, which is spelled N-A-K-D.
With an umlaut. Or with a macron.
Yeah, but I think it's supposed to be naked. So we have carrot cake and peanut delight, which we don't get here. We do get a lot of them, but not these. And they're basically Larabar type bars with dates and nuts, and then they put in different flavors to make them, more exciting. So let's start with peanut.
Start with peanut. Okay.
So The nutritional information is tiny, so I won't bother.
Yep. But you can check out the show notes, and we'll have all the nutrition notes up there for you.
Well, I will read them out. So it's 148 calories for, it's very specific in the UK. 148 calories for the bar, 7.5 grams of fat, 14.6 grams of carbs, which sugars, it's in like 5 languages. Of the 14.6 grams of sugar of carbs, it's 13.6 grams of sugar.
From
so
the dates.
It's dates. 1.8 grams fiber, 4.8 grams of protein.
So
this is peanut.
I just had my first bite, so while you take what you can definitely huge chunks of peanuts. It's like,
I don't know if you can see that. There will be a picture at some point.
Texture-wise, it's exactly like a Larabar, but with chunks.
It smells like peanut.
And it smells like peanut. And it's like taking bites of chunky peanut butter. Very sweetened with dates. So the dates doesn't completely overpower the peanuts.
I mean, to their credit, there are 3 ingredients. Dates, peanuts, and sea salt.
And that's what Larabar started off as. So it's like the original Larabar.
Yeah. So it's very natural.
Mm-hmm.
And take that as you want to take that.
But you get the date and you get the peanut. And that's it.
It is what it says on the label.
Mm-hmm.
Too much peanut.
As far as, most likely, I could eat this on a run.
It's too chunky for me. I was expecting peanut butter. Like peanut butter and date compacted. But it's
But with the chunks?
It's like a bar trail mix. It's kind of almost like a kind bar.
Yeah.
Like in terms of chunkiness. With dates, obviously.
Less chunky than a kind bar, though.
Would you buy it or bonk it? And rate.
Alright, it beats Larabar.
Really?
And it beats a naked bar. No, I'm sorry, it is a naked bar. It beats Larabar and it beats a kind bar.
Oh, well, yeah.
Actually, no. I would give it a 6.5. Just because I'm not a huge fan of... I think it's just a tad on the chunky side.
Yeah.
I would only have it on workouts. I would not have it as an everyday snack.
I would not have it as... I'd be, like... For a workout, I don't want texture.
Exactly.
I would not want that on a workout.
So
it would be too complicated in the mouth, and that sounded weird. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'll give it a 6.5 and a buy in a pinch, but a bonk every time else.
Yeah, like it's a healthy option
that tastes legit.
And it's low calorie. Like it is like a good snack portion, especially if you want to give it to your kids.
I will. Yeah, that's why I gave it a couple more points.
Yeah, like it would be a good thing to put in your kid's lunchbox.
I wouldn't give it to my kid.
Really?
No, too much sugar.
Oh, but it's dates.
Still.
Versus like a fruit roll-up.
Yeah, true.
Like.
Oh, where's...
And they need sugar.
Yeah,
they're growing. Anyway. So what, you give
6.5?
Yeah.
6.5, but a bonk.
Yeah, I'd give it a 6.5. Because it's so chunky, I would bonk it as well, but that's just because I don't like texture.
Okay. And on to the seasonal flavor of the carrot
Which I think
cake.
was like seasonal for last spring, so... a bit delayed, but this is the carrot cake.
So definitely less chunky. You can see it right there.
All right. So nutritional information.
See the carrot bits.
Yeah, it does have real carrot bits in it. I think it's also 148 calories, 7.6 fat, 16.2 carb, 15.6 sugar, 1.6 fiber. So less fiber. Weird. 2.8 protein because it has less nuts, I guess. And it has more ingredients. It has dates, walnuts, raisins, almonds, cashews, carrots, and cinnamon. But
you definitely get the cinnamon.
And it has a hint of natural flavoring. I have no idea what that means.
It tastes a little bit like cardamom. Does it have raisins in it? Or just dates?
Yep. Raisins, walnuts, dates, almonds, cashews, carrots, cinnamon.
So it tastes.
It smells like carrot cake.
And it tastes like a carrot cake.
And it's not as chunky. Like, I don't see, like, huge pieces.
But with the walnuts and the carrots, you're going to taste the grittiness.
Well, yeah, but it's a natural bar.
And it tastes like a carrot cake. It tastes like a somewhat date-like carrot cake.
It tastes like a fruit cake. Like a British fruit cake. The kind that you store for years.
Without the alcohol.
No.
So they nailed the carrot cake flavor.
And it's not as, like, chunky. So it doesn't, like... There's no crunch, which I like.
It's also an exciting flavor. I like the novelty of that.
It's exciting.
The only other carrot cake bar I've ever had was the Cliff Bar carrot cake, which is an
And
overspiced.
Lara Bar has one. But this is like a mini version of the Lara. Yeah, it's pretty much on par in terms of ingredients with the Lara Bar version. Only it's probably like half the size. Yeah, so it's 150 calories. Yeah, I mean, I would give that a 7.5.
I was gonna 7.5.
So definitely better than the peanut. Because the peanut one's just, I don't know what they were thinking with the chunks. I've never seen any naked bar that's that chunky.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, 7.5, but I'm gonna still bonk it.
I'm on the fence. I think
just the date overpowers it for me.
If it's limited time edition, I would buy it because I'm a sucker for marketing. But yeah, and I think they also have a lemon one that's limited edition, and I would have liked to try that, but I don't know. Couldn't find it. Oh well.
Well, that concludes part 2 of Buy It or Bonk. We will be back with part 3, The Year of Fear. And welcome back to part 3 of the Racing Mindcast, The Year of Fear. So this past week, we knocked out 2. Well, I knocked out 2. I did the 50K, and then I also meditated for 30 minutes.
That was a bonus? The 50K was a bonus?
The 50K was an impromptu bonus.
Yes.
So I knocked out 2, and got the meditation, and then you can read all about that on our website.
Yep.
This week, I actually have to make a confession. I've gotten complacent.
Complacent. You got lifed?
I got lifed, but also I think I got comfortable, and I didn't focus on tackling my fears, so I didn't do it. Yeah. And I think that brings up a valid point of why people live in their comfort zone is because they don't think about putting themselves in uncomfortable positions.
Right.
And that's what happened to me this week.
Yeah, especially if you're anxious, you don't want to make yourself more uncomfortable.
Yeah. So,
or whatever. Or underslept or whatever.
So moving forward, I'm going to be making a conscious effort I'm going to be focusing more on what am I going to be doing this week to make myself feel more comfortable.
Are you going to double up?
I most likely will double up either this week or another week. So I will have to knock out 2, but this coming week, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have a meal based purely off enjoyment rather than nutrition.
And that might sound weird to some people who don't have any issues with food, but for you, that's an issue.
Ever since college, when I started running competitively, I've always thought of food as fuel rather than as pleasure. Yeah. And that's been a problem for me. I wouldn't say it's a problem. It's a blessing and a curse. But
it's unusual.
It's unusual. And I think I need to step back for once and just eat a meal where I don't think about nutrition. I don't think about whether it's going to help me recover or whether it's going to fuel my next workout or help me accomplish my next training block or deal with inflammation or cause me inflammation or help with digestion or any of that. I'm just going to sit down to a meal and enjoy it because it's there and be thankful for it.
Yeah, it's kind of a cousin of intuitive eating.
Eating, but it will be for enjoyment rather than what I was craving at the moment.
You're not going to focus on, what are the macronutrient components to qualify whether or not you're going to have it.
Or micronutrients for that matter.
Yeah, whatever. You're just going to have something just because and not overthink it.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, that's good. I also have a confession. I still haven't, worn the scary outfit, not a monster costume.
It's Halloween coming up.
I know, it's bad timing, but I was supposed to wear something that doesn't fit my personality of, being a shy introvert. And I just got complacent as well. I just put it off and put it off and put it off and then forgot about it. So I'm going to have to double it up yet again. I will do it this week along with, or I will do it next week along with something else. But, my apologies. But this week I am going to have a real PB&J, or peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I am terrified of fats, So peanut butter is a major fear food for me. Bread is a major fear food for me, and full sugar jam is a fear food for me. So I thought, why not combine all three? So literally I'm doing 3 fears in one. But yeah, I will count it as one fear, and I will take lots of pictures, lots of food porn, blah blah blah.
Peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time.
You're aging yourself, dear.
Peanut butter. Yeah, chances are, if you're a student of mine, you most likely don't know that YouTube sensation. Unless you're Michael. And if you know who I'm talking about, Michael, who is the king of YouTube and knows every single YouTube reference out there, bless his heart, he most likely gets that reference. If you don't know
under
that reference,
18
please,
probably doesn't know what we're talking about, and that makes me feel really old. Anyway, so yeah, PBJ, meal for enjoyment, and...
I think that, we'll leave it for there, and then if another fear presents itself...
Yeah.
But we need to get back on feeling less complacent.
Yeah.
And once again, these fears, they're fears, and they're also, like, in a sense, and avoidances, and putting ourselves in uncomfortable positions. That's our definition of fear.
I really thought you were going to say living dangerously.
Living dangerously.
Living dangerously with PB&J.
Living uncomfortable.
Yes.
Eating peanut butter, Peter Pan peanut butter, that's living dangerously.
Or Skippy.
Peter Pan's even worse. Anywho, that wraps it up for today. Remember, as always, check out braveheartcanada.com for the full show notes. Leave comments below. Let us know what bars we should try for Buy It or Bonk. And with that, this week, just a reminder, don't forget to breathe, everyone.